Hello everyone, and this is my review for Impact Wrestling on February 9th, 2017. I know this is coming a little bit late. Matter of fact, it's probably about 5 days late. I was not able to watch Impact live how I typically watch it last week, and I was just finally able to get to it now. So let's get into the show. I had not read any of the spoilers or any of that aspect going into it, so I kind of went with, eyes unclouded for the particular show. So they started off this show with the DCC coming out. They were cutting a promo about what the DCC actually is. They're about being in the ass-kicking business, everything in that sense. And this eventually brings out Eli Drake and Tyrus, which because of last week, and it makes complete sense, like at the end of the show last week, the DCC took out Eli Drake and Tyrus, and basically beat them down after they beat down EC3 to end the show. But you have this aspect of Tyrus coming out there and challenging them, and doing this whole aspect is like, hey, and they have like this little back and forth between Eli Drake and Tyrus as well. As like, why don't we have a third partner? Why don't we have a third person for this? It's like, no, don't worry, we got this. This eventually starts a brawl between all of them and leads into a 2-on-3 handicap match. And man, it's probably an aspect that there was, it's heel versus heel in this case, but there was zero, in wrestling terms, in the terms of what they would be looking for, there was zero heat in this match. The crowd just did not care at all. In any way, shape, or form. Though you have the potential of a Tyrus face turn with the fact that Eli Drake leaves Tyrus mid-match, and leaving him to fend for himself against the DCC. And of course, the DCC pick up the win. But like I said, this match had zero crowd reaction. They were not into this in any way, shape, or form, and you could just tell that was the aspect of it. You had this whole heel versus heel thing going, and in the end, no one ended up caring. No one ended up caring either way. You got multiple bits with backstage with Braxton Sutter, Ali, Maria, and this whole aspect that they're potentially setting up a wedding between Braxton Sutter and Laurel Van Ness, and they're playing off the whole aspect as like, oh, if Maria doesn't do what Braxton doesn't do what Maria says, Maria's gonna fire Ali and everything in that sense. Again, it's ending this storyline. So it plays off with a couple other segments, like where you have Michael Bennett going up to Braxton Sutter to talk to him about something. It's like, then Braxton's like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do the right thing, and then ends out walking off. And of course, Michael Bennett, I think, is like, okay, he's just gonna propose to her or something in that sense. So he goes up to Laurel Van Ness, and he's talking, making it look like he was gonna try to break everything off, in every sense of the word. But then he drops a bottle of water. He goes down to pick it up, and of course makes it. She ends out taking it as the actual wedding proposal, and so you have the accidental wedding proposal to go along with it. So, not bad sets of segments here. Came off okay. I'll be honest with you. A lot of the show, you didn't really get much from this show, with the exception of a couple of segments of the particular show. But we'll go into what was up next, which was Brandy Rhodes calling out Rosemary. Brandy Rhodes, she was always a very good ring announcer. Her promo side of everything just came off. It came off rather dull. It didn't really bring much intensity to it, which with the mind games that have been played with Rosemary towards Brandy Rhodes, you would figure there would be a little bit more intensity to it. But she calls out Rosemary. Rosemary cuts a promo on Brandy Rhodes, actually a very good one, a very good promo. I've liked where Rosemary's promos have been recently, and as it looks like Decay is going to corner Brandy Rhodes and basically allow for Rosemary to beat her down, Moose comes down to make the save, chases off Decay, and They cut another segment backstage, like, you know, where Brandy Rhodes challenges both Moose, or challenges Decay to fight her and Moose in a mixed tag. And again, her promo side, we'll give it credit where credit's due. Her promo side is not that good, but she's also rather new on being on this side of the table, where, you know, you're getting in the ring, you're cutting promos on someone else, and you're also getting into the ring as well. So I have to give credit where credit is due. She is still learning a lot, and we'll see if she ends up getting any better down the road. Though it's always going to be hard to tell whether or not she's getting any better, because of the aspect that, you know, Impact is taped so many weeks in advance that you don't know until the next set of tapings in any way. So everything's going to kind of feel like one particular thing, and then it goes into something else. You have Aaron Rex. He cuts a backstage promo in his new, we've been seeing the gimmick recently, but in his gimmick of, working a more flamboyant type character, and he has Rockstar Spud singing his name everywhere, and he's called, and he's got like many different taglines, and he cuts a promo saying about Robbie E. Is like, he always says that violence is not the answer, but tonight I make the exception. And he has a match with Robbie E. Right after that, where basically Robbie E. controls the entire match until Rockstar Spud causes the distraction, and he hits Robbie E. with a loaded punch. These matches are fine. It is a interesting new character. It does play off of the whole stereotype where they go with flamboyant characters, is that they end up being heels in wrestling. I mean, we've seen it where they're not that in other promotions, but they're not rolling with that here. But you're seeing a different side of Aaron Rex, and again, you're seeing the aspect that this guy can play multiple characters and do it quite well. He does play it off quite well, but then again, they are bringing him back into what would feel to be a more comedy-esque character, where, you know, when people thought he was leaving WWE, he was going to play a more serious character and try to, you know, work his way up, and now he's kind of worked himself back into a comedy-style role once again. So it is what it is on that one. You also had, before I get into the last two segments I want to talk about, you also had a Drew Galloway Muhammad Ali Shira match where the Grand Championship was on the line again. Again, that's how they depict any of these style of matches as of late, has been via or any of these matches since the tournament, is that it's always for the championship. Drew Galloway and Muhammad Ali Shira have a first ends in the second round, but I like the aspect of what Drew Galloway did. He was trying to lobby that he won the first round. He won the first round of the match, but loses, but had lost via the judges card, and then comes out of the gates just like pissed off afterwards, and basically destroys Muhammad Ali Shira in the second round to take the victory. It was a good way of going, and I do like these style of matches. It makes you want them to do more with it and make it more of a division. I've kind of said this in the past, and I'm going to say it again in here as well. You want to see it be more of a division, where instead of it just being Drew Galloway going out there and defending the championship, you have someone fighting to become number one contender to the championship in some way. Give it more substance behind it. Especially since with the way that his matches with Moose ended, and Moose is just kind of moving on now to go along with it. You want to see more from it, and they're not really giving you more at this time. They're kind of just staying the course, like, okay, Galloway, go out there and defend the Grand Championship type thing. And it is what it is. It makes you want to see them do something more with it, with the division itself, in every sense of the word. Next segment to talk about before we get into the last two, which I thought were the best portions of this show, was the Helms Dynasty. The Helms Dynasty comes out. They Trevor Lee cuts a promo about winning the X Division title, and then Helms gets the microphone back and basically starts running down Andrew Everett for the aspect of being a disappointment. He shouldn't be there. Maybe we got to trim the fat and get rid of you. And then Everett fires back, which causes Trevor Lee to attack him. Again, no heat here. No heat in any way. It wasn't like the heels with Trevor Lee and Gregory Helms, or Shane Helms. They didn't garner any extra heel heat. You didn't really get anything going behind Andrew Everett, though you think a program's going to start with him, and you assume it will. But, like, this initial turn, it felt like the crowd was a little bit confused on this one. That they hadn't really seen tension on this side in any way, shape, or form. And this turn just, like, out of nowhere. It wasn't like the whole aspect of what you saw... since I'm filming this one after the Raw review, it wasn't like what you saw with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, where you had tension in the past, but they make up, all that kind of stuff, and then you have something to set up the actual turn. You didn't really have much of anything to set up the turn outside of the promo itself, so it didn't really garner any kind of heel heat or face, or a face pop for Andrew Everett or anything like that for the aspect of the turn later. But let's get into the last two aspects of this show that, I'm not going to lie to you, these were the best parts of the show, and this is where they kept most of the focus throughout the night. They were going through the aspect of, at the beginning of the show, that the Seven Deities had given something to Matt Hardy, and that they were going to reveal it later in the show. So the Broken Hardys come out, and the reveal was the aspect of it being a new variation of Vanguard 1 that now has the ability to teleport them anywhere in the world to any promotion to face tag team champions and acquire their tag team gold. And what I believe they're calling it, the Odyssey for Gold or something in that sense. It's going to be an aspect that they go to different promotions to face the tag team champions and try to garner all the tag team titles that they can. And they even played it off well. I actually like the editing that they did here, where they had them both touch the Vanguard 1 and then they teleported them out of there. Obviously via TV, they played it off well with the editing. I kind of liked how they edited it out. And lo and behold, they land in Tijuana, Mexico, where they have like their film throughout Tijuana trying to find the tag team champions, and everyone's doing deletes all over the place. And they're, not messing, but they're, what's the word that we're going for with here? They're, interacting with the crowd that's around them and everything in that sense, leading them to the arena where they show that they are going to face next week Psychosis and Super Crazy in Tijuana, Mexico. So it looks like they're going to go through this thing where they that's their explanation, and you know what? With the fact of the matter, how I've watched Lucha Underground, I'm gonna go with this because that was actually kind of good, and I like the editing job that they did with it to go along with it. So I'll go with it, and the segments came off great too. I liked what they did with the Broken Hardys again. It is corny, it is kind of out there. But again, if you watch Lucha Underground at all, then you would recognize that to go along with it. Which, by the way, I like this. I like putting this one in there. I know this is Impact review, but Lucha Underground has their first 2 seasons going up on Netflix tomorrow. I'm going to be watching those. I'm going to be watching all those because I haven't watched all of Lucha Underground yet. So I definitely want to see those. So this leads into the main event of the night, which was Eddie Edwards versus Bobby Lashley for the Impact Heavyweight title. Really good match with a really, really well done turn from Davey Richards. You had kind of seen this coming with how, like, with the frustrations of not winning the tag team titles against the Hardys, with both of them before, and you kind of felt it coming. And I like the aspect that they use both of their wives to even use this a little bit in there, where, you know, it was your typical fare between Bobby Lashley and Eddie Edwards, and then Davey Richards comes out and actually stops Lashley from using the belt, which eventually allowed Eddie Edwards to come close to getting the victory, which they had done before. But this time, Davey Richards pulls out the referee and basically starts running down Eddie Edwards. And it's like, if you don't believe in us, believe in this. And Angelina Love just decks Eddie Edwards' wife. The name, like, I know she's from independent promotion, so it looks like she's going to be in Impact Wrestling to go along with everything now. But the name is slipping my mind. I'll do my best to make sure to remember it later. I always mess up names right off the bat and everything, but I absolutely love the heel turn. I loved what they did with it. And the match itself leading into the heel turn was really good to go along with it, but we had seen it a good chunk of times with Eddie Edwards and Bobby Lashley in the past. So overall, in those senses of the word, in those senses of everything, you know, those two portions of Impact made it definitely a more watchable aspect of it. But other than that, this week was kind of, other than those, this week was not all that good. But those two segments in general kind of made up for the rest of how Impact was, because you had a lot of moments in there where the crowd was just like, yeah. But they picked up the stuff with the Broken Hardys. I really like the stuff with Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, and the world title match was good itself. So, I mean, overall, it's that mixed bag. That mixed bag of everything where you didn't really have much to it, but you had those segments that kind of saved the show to go along with it. So, with that being said, that is my review this week for Impact Wrestling. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.